Welcome to our deep dive. Today we're tackling leadership communication. Specifically diving into this great LinkedIn article by Miguel Nogueral. You shared it with us, and it really got me thinking about, it's obvious that communication is key for leaders, but what really makes it, great?
Yeah, it's a question we all grapple with, right? And I think what's so interesting about this article is it goes beyond, just basic communication tips. No Girl really gets into these two specific dimensions of leadership communication. Preparedness, like especially for those high stakes moments, those big presentations or those critical meetings, and then also that ability to think on your feet, what No Girl calls spontaneous communication.
Right, right. I see that those are two different things for sure. So let's dig into that first one, preparedness.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because Nogueral really highlights how, top leaders, they don't just win it, right?
No, they don't.
For those important presentations or meetings. He actually shares this story from his time at Sun Microsystems. He's an executive assistant to the chief revenue officer. And he saw firsthand this incredibly structured approach to communication that the CRO had.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they had this whole platform, and it cascaded down through the leadership team. Like, it wasn't just about the CRO being a good communicator.
What's so fascinating about that is it wasn't just personal style, right?
Right.
It was a system. They created a system that made sure the messaging was consistent across the whole organization.
Whoa.
Think about how powerful that is for alignment, for execution.
Totally. I mean, everyone's on the same page with the strategic pillars and the key messages. Okay, so it's like having a communication playbook.
Exactly.
And actually, Nogueral brings in some really interesting points from Carmine Gallo, the author of Talk Like Ted.
Yeah. Love Carmine Gallo.
Gallo talks about this framework for making messages understandable, memorable, and emotional. He even suggests like crafting Twitter-friendly headlines.
Oh, yeah.
Boiling your message down to its absolute core.
And that's so relevant even if you're not giving a TED Talk.
Totally.
Think about your own work, whether you're leading a team meeting, sending an important email. Can you distill your message down to a single sentence that people will remember?
That's a great question. And then Gallo also emphasizes the rule of three.
Oh, yeah.
Which Nogueral really picks up on. How our brains just love things in threes. Like, think about iconic slogans. Just do it. Yes, we can. Location, location, location.
It's simple, but it's effective.
It really is.
Yeah.
And could you structure your next presentation around three key takeaways, to really make it stick with your audience?
It's something to think about. It's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then to really drive those messages home, both Gallo and Nogueral are big proponents of storytelling.
Oh, for sure.
Like adding in a personal anecdote or a customer success story really makes your communication relatable.
More engaging.
Yeah. And Nogueral actually gives an example of working with a general manager.
Yeah.
Who was brilliant strategically, but his presentations were just kind of dry.
Yeah.
And technical.
Okay.
But by incorporating stories and simplifying the message, he became so much more persuasive.
And successful, it sounds like.
And, secured greater investments for his projects as a result.
Yeah.
It's proof that even, small tweaks can make a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure.
But what about those times where, you can't meticulously plan out every word?
Right. That brings us to spontaneous communication, being able to think on your feet. And it's funny because even seasoned leaders can really struggle with this. Nogueral actually admits this. He shares this story from his time at Motorola Solutions.
Tell me about this story.
Yeah. He was the CVP and president for Latin America, and they were having this big regional sales kickoff. And the CEO made a surprise visit. So you can imagine Nogueral was super excited about this.
Yeah, of course.
And let's just say he celebrated a bit too enthusiastically with his team the night before his big presentation.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And so the next morning, needless to say, he hadn't rehearsed properly. He was sleep deprived. And then to top it all off, the sound system and the lighting were malfunctioning.
Oh, no. The worst.
Yeah. The presentation did not go as well as he had hoped. It's a good lesson, though.
Oof.
It was a valuable lesson in the importance of preparation, even for those seemingly impromptu moments.
That sounds like a real wake-up call.
Yeah, it was. Big time. And it really underscores this point that everyone, even experienced leaders, can benefit from having some techniques to improve their spontaneous communication.
Okay.
And that's where Matt Abrahams comes in.
Oh, yeah.
He's a strategic communication expert at Stanford, and Nogueral highlights some of his insights.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What does Abrahams recommend for those moments when we're put on the spot? Like, How do we avoid a no-girl level mishap? Okay, so give me the goods. How do we handle these curveballs?
Well, Abrahams really gets into the things that trip us up,
Yep.
like anxiety, perfectionism, those kinds of things. But he doesn't just stop there. He offers some really cool techniques to actually overcome these challenges.
I like it. I like it.
One thing he talks about is practicing structured improvisation.
Structured improvisation. How does that work?
I know, right? Sounds a little contradictory,
Yeah.
but it's really about learning to just pause, breathe, and gather your thoughts before you respond. It's so easy to just jump right in.
Oh, yeah.
But taking that moment to frame your response can make all the difference.
So it's not about being perfectly off the cuff.
No,
It's about having a mental framework to, organize your thoughts quickly.
exactly. And he also encourages us to, embrace imperfection.
No, I like that.
It's okay. You don't have to have this flawless, brilliant response every time. It's more important to be clear and concise.
That is reassuring because I think a lot of us get hung up on trying to sound smart,
Yeah.
and it can really backfire when you're put on the spot.
Totally. And to help with that clarity and conciseness, Abrahams suggests this framework called What, So What, Now What?
I've heard of this. Yeah. This is a good one.
It's a great way to structure your thinking.
Can you walk me through it? Because I think this would be super helpful for our listener, too.
Okay, so let's say you get asked this really tough question in a meeting,
Mhm.
something unexpected.
Yeah.
Using this framework, you would start by stating the what, so acknowledging the question, the basic facts of the situation.
Got it.
Then you move to so what, explaining why it matters, what the implications are.
Okay.
And finally, you finish with now what? What are the next steps, the actions to take?
Right. So it's kind of like moving from acknowledging the issue to providing context and then suggesting a solution or path forward.
Yeah.
It's like creating this mini narrative,
Yeah.
even in those spontaneous moments.
Exactly. And No Girl talks about how the general manager, remember,
Mm.
the one who was brilliant strategically, but struggled with communication,
Mm.
he actually used this framework with him too.
Will.
And his spontaneous communication just improved drastically, became more concise, more confident, impactful.
Wow. That's amazing. I feel like this framework could be a game changer for anyone who wants to get better at communication.
It's not just for leadership positions.
Yeah.
It's really for anybody.
Totally, totally. Okay, well, so stepping back, Nogaral's article really paints this picture of communication as this core leadership skill.
Yeah. And it's not just about charisma.
No, it's not about being a naturally gifted speaker.
It's about strategy. It's about preparation,
Right.
that ability to adapt.
And he doesn't just tell us what to do.
Right.
He backs it up with real examples.
Actionable techniques.
Absolutely. And he offers a lot of practical recommendations for prepared communication, too, even beyond what we talked about.
Yeah.
What else does he suggest?
Well, first, he really emphasizes crafting a clear core message.
Oh, yeah.
That's your, Twitter-friendly headline
Right.
that captures the essence of what you want to say.
Makes sense. Strong foundation.
Yeah. And then to make that core message memorable, he suggests using, the rule of three,
Okay.
structuring your communication around 3 key points,
Mm-hmm.
just like those iconic slogans we talked about.
Gotcha. And of course, storytelling,
Yeah.
weaving in anecdotes and case studies.
Makes it more engaging, relatable.
Totally, yeah.
And finally, Nogral stresses the importance of practice and rehearsal.
Yes.
Effective leaders don't just wing it.
Yep.
They prepare.
Yeah.
They rehearse their presentations. They fine-tune their delivery.
Build confidence, too.
Yeah.
Right? And it helps you anticipate those challenges, helps you let your personality come through.
Yeah. It's like anything else. The more you practice, the better you get.
Absolutely. But it is easy to skip the rehearsal part when you're busy.
Yeah, I know.
So true. And No Girl also highlights the value of coaching and feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Having someone provide that outside perspective,
Accelerates your growth.
and it doesn't have to be formal coaching, right?
No, it can just be peers.
Yeah.
Mentors, team members, just getting that feedback.
I think creating that culture of feedback is so valuable so you can learn and grow together.
Exactly. And as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into communication and leadership,
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave you with a thought that really stuck with me from No Girl's own journey.
I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Okay, so think about No Girl's own path. He started as an executive assistant,
Right.
observing, the CRO at Sun Microsystems, that communication mastery.
Mhm.
And then he moved into leadership roles at Motorola Solutions,
Right.
facing those high-pressure moments, learning those tough lessons.
Yeah.
And now he's an executive coach sharing his experience to help others.
Wow.
It really shows you, communication mastery. It's a lifelong pursuit.
Yeah, it's a journey, not a destination. It's all about continuous learning.
Exactly. And the more you invest in these skills, the more you prepare and practice, seek feedback,
Yeah.
the more impact you'll have as a leader. So let's bring it back to you.
Yes, let's do it. I mean, we've covered so much today, from structured communication platforms to those Twitter-friendly headlines and that what so what now what framework. What's really resonating with you? What are you most excited to try out in your own work?
Take these insights from Nogarol, Gallo, Abrahams, and, make them your own. Experiment, see what works best for you. Watch those communication skills grow.
Yeah, and remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are so many resources out there to help you become a better communicator and a stronger leader. And speaking of resources, we highly recommend checking out Nogarol's full article on LinkedIn. It's got even more great advice. We'll be sure to include a link in the show notes.
Perfect. Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into communication and leadership. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you today.
It really has. And until next time, keep those conversations flowing, keep those messages clear and compelling, and keep leading with impact.